Everything sucks. Everything's broken. Everything's dying. There's no liquidity. And we broke the line in the sand. This one's called Bloodbath. But an hour ago, it was called Line in the Sand. Yeah, a crappy day. We're going to try to break it all down and see exactly what's going on. You know, I think it was 2 weeks ago I said there's a 30% chance we're in a bear market. We just don't know it yet. You could argue those odds are higher right now. But anyway, it's all a function of money. We're going to look at money. We're going to look at data. We're going to look at charts and try to figure out what the hell is happening. And also, this is the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I always start with the ugly. There's a lot of ugly and a lot of bad today. So buckle in, my friends. And no matter how crap the day is, I'll always turn up. Because somebody needs to. Anyway, I don't enjoy this. It's not fun. But we're going to... Anyway, this is called Bloodbath. This is what it was called an hour ago. Line in the sand. That line in the sand was $100,000 Bitcoin. Yeah, we just broke that. So that's how fast stuff works. And not financial advice. Shout out to Saul Bull as well. This is Saul Bull, friend of the channel. Check out his Patreon. Super good. Glad you enjoy it. Glad you enjoy it. And again, it's been wild time in the markets. Let's get into the story. Let's start with the ugly stuff. November is awful so far. In fact, an hour ago, it was down over 8%. Now it's probably down more, like 9%. Whoa, we got back over 100K. Are you kidding me? Do I even believe those numbers anymore? We did. That was a quick week down to, where do we go? 98.9 and right back up. So yeah, the data is now back to normal. That was a quick wick down $1,000. And I just want to thank everybody for here. You're all legends. And, you know, all the old team, Sean D, Teeny Tazza, BD McGee, and Swiss guy Richie, New, Nick M, Gareth Hayes. Thank you all for being so cool and surviving the storm with us together. It's never fun. And it's nice when number goes up all the time, but also sometimes it doesn't. Now let's talk about some of the problem. There is no money in the system. The system is cracking. The fiat system is cracking. Wait to see the meme du jour at the end. It's very, very pertinent for today's video. But this shows you here, over the last 5 days, shout out to Andrew, the Federal Reserve just pumped another $25 billion into the banking system through overnight repos. That's $130 billion in the last 5 days. There is a liquidity crisis. This amount far surpasses the amount pumped into the system during the dot-com bust, during global financial crisis. This is really bad, okay? The US government is shut down. They're pulling in money, but they're not spending any money, so no money's going back into the system. Therefore, there's no money in the system. There's no liquidity into the system, and everything's grinding to a halt. And guess what? The big dog, Bitcoin, that is the sniffer dog, the canary in the mine. When there is no liquidity, that thing takes a poop. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. That's a crude explanation of exactly what's going on. But there's more bad stuff, more ugly stuff, in fact. The government's still shut down. It's been going on, I don't know, 3 weeks. And I'm not a fan of government. Any government, left, right, middle, I think they're all garbage. They're all corrupt. They all waste money. They all make stupid decisions. There is no exception. Find me a government on the planet that is actually good. There are some governments that make good long-term decisions, though. But if I say good things about them, then I'll be accused of being Chinese or something like that. But anyway, I won't mention that. But the government is still shut down after all these weeks. And now the Department of Transportation may shut down airspace in the US. Okay, at least half of air traffic controllers are facing shortages, and 13,000 of them are working without pay. Again, as I say, no money, no fun. But imagine the US airspace shutting down. Transportation, vacations, everything else. Speaking of vacations, another thing that's dying on the vine is Vegas. Vegas had the golden years for the last, 10, 20 years. But the visitor count to Vegas fell another 10% so far in 2025. Steepest decline since, guess what? 2008 global financial crisis. Consumers are being left in the dust. No money, no fun, no liquidity, no parties, no desk things or table drinks or whatever they call in the clubs. Crazy. It's really bad out there. Really bad. And we've been complaining about the macro for a long time. The recessions are in place in many industries. We know all that. But now it's hitting home because it's really bad. And of course, The governments, both sides, don't have a clue. They couldn't manage their way out of a wet paper bag. Enough of me ranting. Let's get to some bad news. This is crypto over the last seven days versus Bitcoin. Sol lost 7% to Bitcoin. ETH down 12% to Bitcoin. Cardano even worse. Link, OKB, Hype. Everything is getting completely hammered out there in melting ice cubes terms, dollar terms. Again, this is also, it is 101K, but again, numbers are slightly off. Bitcoin is $1,000 lower than the screenshot, but the point is everything is red across the board, and fear and greed is down at 21. And you know, in a bull market, when fear is down at the extreme fear level, that's a signal to buy, but not if we're entering a bear. And I still maintain with 30% chance we could be in a bear market and not know it, but 70% chance not. And the reason why not is I believe the rate cuts are there, the QT is ending, the money printing is about to be turned on, there's a ton of money hitting the system. We've got to go risk on. And fiat is garbage. What else are you going to do? You got to buy Bitcoin. I mean, that's it. Now, let's look at the ETF flows for Bitcoin. This is for September and October. Both solid. Both pulling in the exact number, billions. I can't remember, but both pulling in about 4 billion. In the net inflow there is wrong, but the Bitcoin ETFs did pull in, unless that's the wrong chart, I think just shy of 4 billion in September, a little bit shy of 4 billion in October, and slightly down in the first few days of November. Not bad, but the point is the perpetual bid is still coming into the Bitcoin ETFs. That's very important. And the treasuries are still trying to buy. By the way, can't wait to have a word with Michael Saylor and talk to him about, so I should stop. Sorry, dog is eating one of my lights. Loves to chew on electrical cables. Michael Saylor bought Bitcoin last week at 115 grand. Why couldn't he wait a couple of days and buy it for 99,000? We got a product for that, Michael Saylor, if you're listening. To be an OTC desk, there's got to be a better version because I think they're getting greedy. Now, ETH ETF flows are trending now 134 million a day. This is alarming. This is very, very high. And I'm not sure what's happening with Ethereum, but the drainage is pretty extreme. And another view of the money flows. Yes, last week was slightly negative. Slightly negative. We had outflows about 360 million last week. And a lot of people talked about, you know, the Fed Chair Powell being a little bit hawkish on rate cuts. And that left the markets a little bit uncertain. But I think we got bigger problems than that. Crypto over the last 30 days, again, most things are red with the exception of Dash, Zcash, Tau, ICP. Another view from our crypto compendium is the following. Sorry, to stop the dog from getting electrocuted. Dash, ICP, Zcash over the top. Last 7 days were the winners. Everything else lost money. There's nobody out there making money today. Okay, nobody. There'll be claims of people like, oh yeah, I shorted Bitcoin 126,000. I closed my short at 99,000. There was all dreams. Anyway, we had record outflows as well of gold, which is very interesting. The biggest outflow of gold ever in the history of gold. And we had a crazy frenzy as well. For a long time, huge money was going in. It wasn't just Chinese, the Russians buying gold and India buying gold. But then retail followed in, and now retail is leaving the party instantaneously as well. So we'll see what's happening. And more bad news, France's war on wealth. We touched on this briefly on DCA yesterday, but France just declared war on savers from Simply Bitcoin. That is not good. If you have, like literally, it's as if the WEF slogan of you'll own nothing and be happy is what the French government is reading. Shout out to our friends in France. We've got a lot of cool French people watching the channel here. But I mean, okay, for years during my lifetime, Governments always try to incentivize humans to save money, not necessarily spend it. Now they're saying, we're going to tax you on your savings, your so-called unproductive wealth, Bitcoin, art, homes, etc. Wild times. I mean, I've seen Orwellian signs everywhere I look. Now, with all of that, time to get into the good news. A welcome respite. Vig the Great, thank you for coming. And thank you, everybody, for being so happy today. I thought people would be crying in their pillows. I'm sure there are some people crying in the pillows. But the good news, this video is supposed to be called Line in the Sand, and let me explain why. This $100,000, by the way, when Bitcoin first broke $100,000, I was standing right here, and I was drinking the most horrible substance ever, called whiskey for the first time. It was nasty. And now I feel like drinking it again because we've gone the other way. Instead of breaking through Bitcoin $100,000 for the first time, we were above 100K for 6 months, which was awesome. But we fell below. So this is my little red line here, $100,000 line. Let's check the price of Bitcoin live. Well, oh my God, we're popped up $1,700 since I started. That's not bad. But I said, we have to hold this line. This is a key psychological support level. And I had a feeling because if you look at the cloud of the price action for the whole of 2025, that big sausage covering the lines, we never fall out of the cloud. Today, we completely dropped out of the cloud like we've never done before. And this $100,000 line has been tested 5 times over the last 6 months. We've been in $100,000 plus territory for 181 days. But what makes this setup concerning for me when I looked at this chart was the extreme move out of the cloud means we are extremely oversold. The mean reversion indicator is extremely oversold. It's looking bad. And what's concerning is I don't know exactly what's doing this. Is it manipulation so a nation state can buy? Is it Binance and Wintermute? Is it long-term holders dumping? Is it the fact that the US has no liquidity in the system and this one sniffs out liquidity? I don't know, but the good thing is we're bounced back above it. That's why it's in the good news category. Now, shout out to James Check as well from Check on Chain. He talked about how the bulls need a V-shaped comeback. I am paraphrasing for him. I hope I interpret it correctly. But he said the bull's last stand is between 95,000 and 100,000. Basically, if we dip below 95K, we could head down to the bear market level of 82.1K. I think if we do get a bear market for Bitcoin and we don't get a perpetual bid, we could fall as far as 70K because that's where historically it falls. The price of Bitcoin at the time of the US election, that was the price on the 4th of November 2024. Will that repeat? Nothing is repeating this season. Everything is different this time. But if you look at this, you can see, well, he said his odds are about 50% that we're in a modern bear market at this stage. And this is funny because James Check was kind of bearish all 2025. Friend of the channel, shout out to James, cool. And then he got really bullish the last couple of weeks. And I was like, huh, that's weird. But now he's back to bear based on the channel. And, you know, things can change very fast. And he believes the 80K zone could come into view. We're not there yet. The bulls have to defend it. If we do fall towards 95K, we need to bounce hard and recover hard and get above it. Otherwise, oh, wow. Apparently, he said as well, 30% bear market. I've been saying that as well for weeks. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Either way, we don't know. One thing I can say is you don't want to be holding fiat. That's it. That's it. Anyhow, there are some other pieces of good news too. This is the US president. He basically had a 60 minutes interview and he doubled down on saying the US is going to make a US Bitcoin reserve and is going to make US Bitcoin and crypto dominance a national priority, calling it a winner-takes-all industry, rivaling artificial intelligence in importance. And he also warned that China is rapidly expanding in terms of crypto. And what else? He said something about a CZ, Binance guy. He said, I know nothing about this guy, but framing his release as a stand against the political bias of the Biden administration's war on crypto. So I think that might have been the incentive for forgiving CZ. Maybe he felt he was wrongly persecuted. I don't know. Either way, it was interesting. What I do care about is how the US is focusing on two things, which happen to be what I've always focused on this channel: crypto and AI. That's all there is, my friends. That's it. That's it. Forget everything else. Crypto and AI. And the fact that the US president is talking about that, shout out to David Sachs. He's probably whispering in his ear. Now, another piece of good news, which is a little bit wild as well. Tom Lee, end of year prediction. And by the way, I will eat a croc live on this channel if we hit his targets by Christmas or before the end of the year. But he still is very, and I listened to this interview on CNBS last night, actually. It was late yesterday. He said the fundamentals are terrific, so expect a massive rally by year end and a target of $200,000. Bitcoin is still valid, and ETH going to $7,000 for the ETH fans out there. ETH today hit $3,050. So it'll more than double by Christmas, which is about 6 weeks away. Woohoo! I'm ready. I hope he's right. I don't think he is. I doubt it very, very much, but I do hope he's right. And shout out to Tom Lee as well. And again, this chart is now out of date because ETH fell even further, but ETH is in the red, down 10% for 2025 so far. And Bitmine, his company, which actually single-handedly caused the whole of ETH to pump, his average cost is about $4,100 in ETH, and the price of ETH now is $32.50. So he's down about $2.3 billion underwater for that. So all the proxies are getting hammered. I actually calculated the NAV premium as well for Bitmine. It's exactly 1.02. So it's 2% premium over just buying Ethereum direct, which is extremely low for a proxy. Anyway, I want all our boats to float. I would be delighted to see ETH at $7,000. Very delighted. So I hope he's right and everything recovers, including all the proxies that are out there. But remember, pure form is always better. Proxies are always risky, unless it's the bottom of the bear. That's when you buy these things. Now, AltSeason is at the middle of the road. In fact, it's leaning much more to Bitcoin 41. Hasn't really changed that much. And another good news too, the Sol ETF flows are on fire. They're pulling in $70 million a day. And if you just look at BSOL, they have $513.35 million in assets. Rex has another 400. So these things, and there's probably another, I think there's the GSOL from Grayscale has one too. The combination of all of these are north of $1 billion already. So at least they haven't been draining like the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. Money is flowing into this. A lot of people believe there is a rotation happening out of this into this. I'm not sure. But last week, ETH was positive. This week, not so much. And late last week, not so much. But ETH did pull in $57 million last week. Bitcoin dropped $1 billion last week, which is crazy high. And Solana pulled in $421 million. So Solana pulled in 8 times what ETH pulled in. And that tells me those that believe there is a potential rotation happening, there probably is. There probably is. So we'll see. Check out the Patreon post earlier. Let's talk stocks, which includes some proxies too. Stocks are okay this week, despite the hammering we just got in crypto. Amazon up 9%, NVIDIA 3%, Apple 0.5%, Broadcom down 3%, Google up 3%, Microsoft down 6.5%, Meta down 17%. They got hammered. Poor Zuck. Hope he's okay. And Tesla down 2%. All in all, not too bad. Not too bad considering liquidity has dried up. And the fear and greed for stocks is also exactly where it is for crypto. 23, extreme fear. Everybody's terrified. Now, strategy continues to be creative in bringing innovative financial solutions to market. And I know that the Europeans are voracious savers. So this is great. And I have the US version of this called STRC. This is where I'm parking my cash during this downturn. Part of my cash, of course, not all my cash. You always need some cash on hand. But they have a new thing called Stream. STRE is the ticker. And that is a euro-denominated perpetual preferred stock that pays 10% to European and global institutional investors. So if you're denominated in euros and you want to get 10% on your bag, do it. And then he will take that money and he'll buy Bitcoin with it, which will float all our boats too. It could be the new infinite money glitch. But people need to get over the hump of risk. And people are still very risk averse when it comes to things like Bitcoin. and therefore they're not going for the 10%. Although I did, that's me. And approved or denied the Tesla comp plan rates are now at 93%. This is on Polymarket. If you go to Kalshi, it's like 94%. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't vote. Please, every vote counts, especially for the XAI investment. That would be very important. Very important for the future. Now, there was a lot of cool stuff as well that happened yesterday. There was a conference where Jensen said Elon has a giant AI factory. He was very early in recognizing he needs to have an AI factory to sustain his cars. This has got AIs in the cars. Every industrial company will be an AI company. And if you are not going to be an AI company, you will not be an industrial company. It's that simple. And also, for years, I've been saying 60% of the S&P 500 are zombies. There will be a massive de-industrialization of industrial companies because they don't embrace AI, embrace or die. That is the simple matter of fact. Those that do, like you have Hyundai buying 50,000 GPUs from NVIDIA, what are they buying them for? Yeah, to drive cars themselves. Easy. Speaking of cars driving themselves, shout out to the Cybertruck owners, if anybody's here. FSD can now drive in reverse. It's a demon. You can turn this thing on. It's a version 14.1.5, which is rolling out. It started yesterday, and everybody should have it within 70 hours, they say. Fingers crossed we get it soon. I'm excited to test it. As soon as I get it, I'll go on a little road trip and let you know how it is. But apparently, you can turn this thing on in Mad Max mode in a parking lot. And as I say, parking lots are the most dangerous places in the world to drive. People are backing out, people backing in, people gunning for spaces. It is like a Mad Max arena in a parking lot. And this thing can go Mad Max in a parking lot. But the reason I say that is that shows you how much confidence they have in their full self-driving. It's wild. And back to NVIDIA again, and data centers, AI. That's it. Wrap your head around it, ladies and gentlemen. NVIDIA used to be smaller than Intel's data center business. And the tipping point happened in November 2022. Anybody else remember what happened in November 2022? Yes, and ChatGPT launched, and then everything took off, and NVIDIA took off, and Intel data center business shrank to $3.9 billion, and NVIDIA is now north of $40 billion. Again, this is how things change so fast. And what else is changing fast is shout out to the Bitcoin miners. Iris Energy and CIFR Mining literally just inked massive AI infrastructure deals, HPC deals, we call them, with both Microsoft and Amazon, worth over $20 billion combined. Once they were only focused on mining Bitcoin, now they said, screw this. Let's use some of our energy around AI workloads. Because the demand for energy and electricity and power and co-location facilities is through the roof. The big players, the big hyperscalers don't have enough. So now they're looking under rocks to find energy. And under those rocks, they're finding Bitcoin miners. And they're doing deals and buying up everything they have. So I don't know who's going to be mining Bitcoin in the future. If there's so much money to be had in just running GPUs from NVIDIA in your data center, it's crazy. And all of this is making things a lot cheaper in the AI world too. AI is getting now 9 times cheaper in just a year, every year. Like if you go back a year ago, a cost of, what was it, 10 million tokens was like $10. No, a cost per million tokens was $10. Then it fell to $1. Now it's at 10 cents. Every year it goes down 9 to 10x. That means a year from now, a million tokens will cost 1 cent. And a year from now, a million tokens will cost 0.1 cents. This is how fast this stuff is developing. Think of the tokens being the fuel for thought, fuel for intelligence. The more tokens you can spin out at a lower price, the more intelligence you have. And that's powerful. And speaking of powerful too, we just had a new record as well. Shout out to Satya, the CEO of Microsoft. They, in their Azure facility, basically had one rack of GB300s pump out 1.1 million tokens per second. That's insane. Insane. As I always say, speed also is all that matters too. The faster you are, the quicker you win. And Apple did it. Yes. Apple fixed Siri. Not themselves. They've outsourced it. And they went to Google and said, hey, Google, because we're Apple and we like walled gardens, closed walls, proprietary software. We want to buy a private label version of your Gemini AI for our Apple customers. And that's what they're doing. I don't know how much they're spending, probably a truckload. But again, at least they're eventually doing it. They tried to build their own. They couldn't retain their staff. The staff didn't want to stay there in a walled garden. So instead they outsourced. And it's rare. Like I know Apple outsourced to companies to make their stuff like computers and phones, but it's rare that they outsource something so proprietary like AI. But another win for Google. Google are crushing it, literally crushing it. And meme du jour. This goes back to what I started saying at the beginning, everybody. If you got a choice, what do you want in your pocket, fiat or Bitcoin? You have enough Bitcoin to survive the collapse of Western economies. Western economies and deindustrialization is happening. Like I said before, if you don't embrace AI and you are a so-called industrial player, you're not going to be around in 5 years. AI is changing everything. Just like crypto will change everything too. All these videos turned into Substack as well. And tomorrow, speaking of AI, Tesla tuber Joe Bakti and I, we should probably have a session in German, but we'll be talking about how to save yourself, how to prepare, just to prove I'm not mad about my paranoia about AI, but we'll come up with a game plan as to how you can all save yourselves. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific. No idea. This noon East Coast time. It's probably 8 or 9 p.m. in Europe. Is that right? No, 6 p.m. in Europe, but it'll be an important one because literally this times are getting very serious. No more time to joke about, mess about. Everything is changing very fast. That AI asteroid is coming to hit this planet very quickly. Once again, Swiss Guy Ritchie, Nick M, Gareth, BD, GQ, DBF, Vig the Great, Swiping No Swiping, J4 All Investor. Is that my Metallica friend? Changed his name. Yunka, Dude Travels, AZ Rolfer, and Spartan. Appreciate you all and the mods in chat. Team D Tesla, Sean D, K8. Everybody, you rock. Thank you so much. Rough day before I hang up, actually. Bitcoin up $2,100 since I began. Let's see if we get that V-shaped recovery. I don't know. Somebody's stepping in. Sub 100K is a nice price to buy if you don't have any Bitcoin. You may have to, all you have to do is wait 2 or 3 years and you make a lot of money. So remember, fiat's going down. Watch the denominator. It's all you need to do. Thank you all. Have a good night.